So, that was weird. Yeah, I guess Crash episodes 1 and 2 are pretty well liked. I know it may sound a bit weird, but I really wasn't expecting anything near the kind of response I got for these first 2 episodes. I mean, the last time I made a video like this, I said, "Speaking of the last video, there's at least 5 more of you watching now," which is really encouraging. And now there are 14,000 of you. That is insane. In fact, if you only went off what I posted before these 2 episodes came out, you'd be forgiven for thinking that the show was dead. Because, well, it kind of was. But that's why I'm making this, since I need to clarify a few things. Oh, also just a note, if you've seen my God Crashes Your Dreams video and you didn't like it much, then you might want to skip to this time code here. That'll take you straight to some channel updates, so you don't have to watch the rest of this. When God Crashes Your Dreams came out in 2021, and a lot has happened since then, so here, I'm gonna make a timeline for you to follow. This will make things a little easier to follow. Okay, let's get into it. We start in 2011, and I have an idea for a machinima that I want to make, and I start working on it. Nothing too fancy, and not really that deep, and it never really got far. The only thing the current show has in common with that was the name Crash and the character named Target. Everything else was completely different. Anyway, the point is, I couldn't make it because I was a teenager and I had no money. Got it? Okay, so now we can move on to 2018, El Dorito comes out and I'm playing it on my PC, and I think to myself, you know, all these tools would be really useful for making a machinima. Oh well. Then we fast forward again to 2019. I'm spending a whole week in Florida with my girlfriend, now wife, for vacation, and I grab a bottle of whiskey and proceed to drink probably too much of it. And of course, being inebriated, I start to think that a Halo machinima would be an amazing idea. It couldn't hurt to write it at least, right? Turns out that was kind of opening Pandora's box, because I ended up being so inspired by writing that I just kept it going. At that point, I wasn't planning on turning it into anything, I just wanted to make a story that I enjoyed. I played around with the idea for a few years until 2021. After years of occasionally obsessing and daydreaming about the story, I decide, hey, I have friends, I have money, I have time. Let's actually make this. And then I make Crash Episode 1, On Point. And if you've watched my testimony video, you know where this is going. I get really wrapped up and obsessed with it, and some of the VAs I know leave the project, and I decide to delete the channel and the video. But I still wanted to make videos, so I made my Fallout and Zomboid videos, which I actually really like those videos, even though the Zomboid one was rushed and super underbaked. Anyway, at this point, Crash is dead, and I'm actually still pretty upset about it. But I'm convinced that it needed to die. So I make my testimony video processing what was going on internally with me. I'm actually really proud of this video. I'm very vulnerable and honest there, and I feel like it's a very raw and real video, more than anything else I've made. So now we're caught up with the old video, and we can talk about what happened next. After releasing my testimony video, I felt so much better. I begin to slowly feel my life coming back to me as I get over what happened. I mature and grow in patience, and I feel more stable in my identity, both as an artist and as a Christian. So despite how it initially felt, Crash dying wasn't just a good thing for me, it was a real turning point where a lot of things started getting better and better for me all around. I really started to feel like I did the right thing, that Crash dying was what was meant to happen. But here's when things got a little bit interesting. Even though I had given up on Crash, and it had basically been all but written in the clouds that I did the right thing, I just couldn't fully kill it in my mind. I had a story that I wanted to tell that I never got to. And the more I thought about it, the more it came to me that the truth is, On Point wasn't the story I wanted to make originally. See, I had written a longer episode, and during production, I released the first 2 minutes of the show online and got a bunch of good comments. I instantly became drunk with attention and desperately tried to do whatever I could to get more approval. The original first episode was diced up into 5-minute episodes because, well, I thought no one wanted to watch a 25-minute show. Then there was the humor. You know, my sense of humor is a bit dry and absurd and kind of strange, so it's not for everybody, but I really wanted attention, so I started incorporating more lowbrow humor that really wasn't my normal style, but I thought that people would like that more. And little by little, I made more and more concessions because Deep down, what I wanted more than anything was for people to like me and like what I make, for me to have value in their eyes. And before I knew it, the idea that I had for the show kind of turned into this Frankenstein's abomination. So little was left of what I originally wanted to make that it was barely recognizable to me. But I was still so desperate for approval that I just released episode 1, and I got some really stellar feedback. And then I, even more drunk on attention than before, start work on episode 2, and you probably know that that never happened. What happened next was honestly a real awakening for me in a lot of ways. See, I don't think I ever had the strength to kill Crash, but other things happened instead. Most of the voice actors left and I wasn't able to continue. I had control of the situation ripped away from me. But rather than get bitter and upset with the people who left, I kinda just stopped and looked at myself very carefully, and then the realization hit me like a freight train. I realized how desperate I was for attention and validation, how I would sacrifice everything to get it. I would destroy myself just to get some kind of love that I had for the creators of the shows I watched when I was growing up. What I began to see was that Crash had become a vehicle for the very worst parts of me. It wasn't about the love that I had for storytelling or for machinima, or even for the stuff that I watched growing up. It was just a stepping stone on my way to what I thought was greater things. When I realized this, it broke me. I was fully prepared to leave Crash behind and never talk about it again. But now I can't deny that God wasn't quite finished with it yet. When I said that Crash was dead, it turns out that the Frankenstein's abomination was dead. But that original idea, that passion, that never died. In fact, I don't think I could kill it even if I wanted to. I tried. Turns out I just couldn't tell the two apart at the time, the difference between the abomination and that idea I originally had. At the time, I really thought that Crash was just some silly fantasy of mine that was a result of me being a glutton for attention, but I had forgotten about what drove me to write it in the first place. I wrote it because I love machinima. I wanted to pay tribute to the shows that had such a huge impact on me growing up. It wasn't for selfish ambition at all, not at the start. It was out of love for something that was really special to me. And even though I thought it was dead, I found myself over the next year or so, daydreaming and having new ideas for the story just come to me out of the blue like a lightning bolt. And I felt horrible for it. I felt like I hadn't fully let go of that selfish ambition that had been driving me for all those years. I even prayed and asked God over and over again to take it away from me. But then, as I began to process it with some of the godly and wise people in my life, I started feeling differently. Not about walking away from Crash, I still think that was the right thing for me to do at the time. As I talked with my friends and my mentors, I began to realize something. The only way I could describe it was that through both circumstance and through the words of my friends, I felt like God was talking to me. And much to my surprise, he was pushing back on what I was doing. I thought I was doing the right thing by walking away from it all. And if I had to put it into simple words, it felt like God was saying, "You did the right thing by walking away. But why are you staying away from it now?" And truth be told, I didn't have a good answer. I had a good answer for why I walked away, a great answer even, but not for staying away. The only reason that I was able to come up with was that I might do it again. I might make it into an idol and turn it into this selfish ambition again, and I didn't want to risk that. And then God, through my life and through my friends, basically told me if that was a justifiable excuse, you could get away with not doing anything. Just because something might go wrong doesn't mean it will. I knew that if I ever wanted to get over my selfishness, I couldn't just run from it. But the only way to fight it was to face it, to turn to it, to go into it. And if or when I would fall down and make the same mistake again, the only thing I could do was get back up and try again. Someone once told me that fear kills a lot more dreams than failure ever did. And so I renewed myself. And I said, "God, if I make the same mistake again, I know that you have me and that you won't abandon me and that I'll be able to do what's right because you are with me and you'll help me." And so Crash was reborn, sort of. I started working on it from scratch, keeping the general outline that I had as an idea and trying to build something new on top of it. And then eventually, on basically what seemed to be a whim, I decided to put out a casting call onto some websites. And we got about 93 auditions, which was incredible. I find amazing voice actors who are not only professional but unbelievably friendly and passionate and understanding, and I felt reinvigorated. For the first time, the story I wanted to tell was starting to come into view. It wasn't just this nebulous cloud that floated around my head, it was materializing in front of me. And that's something that I never really got to experience before now. I mean, sure, I had a lot of ideas and different projects throughout the years, but never something that actually came together to be anything. And as Crash was materializing, I felt almost like a passenger, like it wasn't me who was working on it. Even though I do all the writing and animating and editing and all of that stuff, it didn't feel hard. Okay, well, it was hard, but it wasn't the same kind of work. I thought about, what if no one watches this? And honestly, I didn't care. I just wanted to tell the story I wanted to tell. And if I could get this immaterial idea out of my head, I could finally get my sanity back enough to go work on something else maybe. I began to pour my blood, sweat, and tears into Crash once again, but something was different this time. I wasn't feverishly expecting and anticipating anyone to like it. I wanted to like it. I wanted it to be something good. In my testimony video, I said maybe I could make Crash something that honors God, but I had no idea what that would even look like. And then I read a quote by Martin Luther that made things just click in my head so beautifully. The Christian shoemaker does his duty not by putting little crosses on the shoes, but by making good shoes, because God is interested in good craftsmanship. I realized if I wanted to honor God, I didn't need to make it hyper-spiritualized. I needed to make it well. I needed to make it good. What I needed to do was use all of the tools and abilities and opportunities that God had given me to make the best thing that I could. Because at the end of the day, everything I have is a gift. My talent, my time, my money, my voice, my friends, the internet, all of this. And since it's a gift, I don't have to earn it. I don't have to do anything. It's freely given to me. So while I was working harder than I ever had, I simultaneously felt more free than I had ever been. Free from the desire of needing validation from anyone but God. Free from the trap of finding my identity in the things that I make and looking for my self-worth in what I make rather than who I am and who I was made to be. I never grew up in the church. I was basically an atheist. But what convinced me of the truth of Christianity was that I was looking for my meaning and my purpose, my worth in things that could never satisfy that need. I tried to find myself in all the wrong places. And it wasn't until I looked to Jesus that I lost myself, I died to myself, and in doing so, I actually found who I really was. Who I was meant to be. I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not. I only need to be honest with who I am, where I am right now, where God has brought me. Where I am is not where I'm going. Who I am today is not who I will be next week, or even tomorrow. But life is a process. And I've come to believe that all of reality is a story of redemption, of second chances. Everything I've ever touched, that I tried to find my identity in, I tried to identify with and tie my self-worth to, it always burned to the ground. I burned it to the ground. Because I placed on it an eternal weight that it was never meant to carry. But when I took that weight, and I placed it on the shoulders of one who could hold it, who held it for me already, I realized that God made this world from nothing. He made humanity out of dust. And so the ash heap of my life, He could do something amazing with it. But even if He didn't, I know He loves me, and that's enough. I can breathe. I can rest easy, knowing that my life does not depend on me, not anymore. I'm free to just sit and taste, enjoy, to look up in the sky and receive everything as the gift it was always meant to be. And eventually, when I fall and fail again, as I will, because I'm a human being, I know that I can get up. That no matter how great the fire, from the ashes, God can make something beautiful. Alright, that's about all I had to say. Sorry if this is a little weepy and introspective and a little too emotional. It's a very sensitive topic for me. I'll take this time to kind of fill you in on what's coming next for the channel and what you can expect. You shouldn't see too many more of these testimony videos from me. I just wanted to get everybody caught up and kind of share my journey just a little bit more. What you can expect is Crash Episode 3, probably coming, I would say, late August, probably. I'm taking the first 2 weeks of August with my wife as a vacation, so I won't be able to work on it while I'm away. I'm also not sure when, but I do expect to try to make more Boomerang rant videos, since those are a pretty fun little project and a nice way to get away from some of the monotony of making Crash. I also want to take this time to shout out the Sanity Fun Discord, which has been the most fun Discord I've ever joined. We actually like to have game nights together, and that's the footage you're seeing right now, and there will be more of those, so hey, you want to join up for game night, join the Sanity Fund. I'm also looking into the possibility of doing some Crash-themed merch, which I have to do more investigating before I can come to a conclusion as to whether or not that'd be smart, but hey, that's news, I guess. Also thinking about starting a modded Project Zomboid server for all the patrons, which would be really fun, I think. I have a lot of footage from our game nights, so I'm going to try to make a compilation of best hits from those nights because, man, it was a blast. I wouldn't hold your breath for that video since there's a lot of footage to go through and I have a lot of other things that kind of take priority. Well, that's all I had to share, so I guess I'll just end the video now and thank you all for watching. It really means a lot to me, and hopefully this video was an encouragement to some of you. And if it wasn't encouraging, hopefully it was at least informative. I'm thinking about making a video about my vacation, but I'm not sure if I want to put my face in there yet or not. Maybe just like a highlights reel? That'd be fun. And, oh my gosh, this video is 17 minutes long. Okay, I'm just gonna cut it off now. Okay, love you, bye.